Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, data binding related concept, how to handle different data types. I hope everyone practiced this. Yeah? So, in React, we learned about two basic components concept. Till now, you learned about how to create a React application, and we learned about components. We are still learning about components, and in components we discussed about data binding. In data binding we are still learning about one-way binding. One-way binding means storing data in any source, accessing the data from the source, and displaying in the UI, binding to the UI. And in one-way binding we learned how to bind different data types. How you do that in a JavaScript, how it is different in React, what changes are there in React, we discussed. So in React, I showed you how to bind numbers, string, boolean, null, undefined, object type, array of objects and all. Now, one more concept we need to know. Actually, to store data, we are not using variables. We are using what? Use state. Use state is a hook in React. It is used to maintain data for components. It is not recommended to maintain data in variables because variables are immutable types. And always it is recommended to store data in variables state. How the state is going to work, we will see how state works, what concept works. So already we discussed a few points. Now, what you learned about state is configuring state, storing data in the state, initializing some data into it. Now, here you need to understand one more, how to assign data into it. Actually, while working with React components, let's start this. While working with React components, we want to initialize some value, constant, some value, like suppose I want to initialize some product name, and we are using use state, and I just configured a sample that is TV, and we are displaying the data here. So the data is product name, and get the binding expression product name. So it's going to get the product name and display. It is showing the product name and displaying. Now we need to change that product name. We want to assign some value into it. So actually, to assign value into a state, we need a setter. So we need a setter, set product name. So use state will have two members. The first one is getter and the second one is what? Setter. So use state is going to have two options. This is the getter and this is the setter. Getter is to get the value and setter is to assign a new value. To assign any new value, we can set. So let's try this assigning. How do we set somewhere inside this component here? We are using what? Set product name. And we already learned you cannot assign value because it is declared with what? Constant. Then we should initialize value. I am using a parenthesis and value. Value is some new name. This is the new name I am configuring. But this is invalid. Setting the value into means assigning a value, initializing a value into state is valid. That means here it is okay. We are initializing the value into the state. This syntax is okay. This syntax is okay. But why it is not valid? What is the problem is actually this state, whatever you defined here, that means before return, whatever you defined here, this is the creation state of a component. Creating component, that is the creation state of a component. Component is created here. And while creating component, you cannot assign any value into state. You cannot initialize any value into state. After component is created, when component is loaded, at that time you can initialize some value into the state. So value into state, the values into state can be initialized only after the component is created. And actually this phase is which phase? Creating. In creating phase, you can initialize the state. After initializing, you cannot reinitialize the state. If you want to assign new values, you cannot do that by using this technique here. After component is created, now you can, at the time of loading component, you can initialize. For example, see now I done here. Let's save this and you can see it is showing error. It is showing error. And the error is actually, see, React limits the number of renders to prevent an infinite loop. What is this error? It is saying that React have an infinite loop. And it is saying that it limits the number of renders. Actually, what is the point is here, this is going to render. This is going to render. After creation completed, it will render. After rendering, it have to render one more time to store this new value. First time it renders with initial value. Second time it tried to render one more time to assign a new value. 2 times it is trying to render. And React says that multiple times rendering a component with new data is not recommended. So we are limiting this. Limiting means they are saying that React restricts rendering multiple times. So better you don't assign any values. You don't try to modify the values at the time of creating. After creating, you do anything you want. That means at the time of creating, you cannot assign a new value into the state. You cannot initialize a new value into the state. So what you have to do? We have to do this after component is created at the time of loading the component. Actually, in your HTML also, it is the same thing. But more detail you need to understand generally. In your HTML, JavaScript, what happens is, the process is same actually. Generally, in your HTML, JavaScript, usually when you are having a browser, Suppose let's say L, yeah. So let's say we are having a browser, and generally in the browser, you are requesting some page. You see browser have a address bar. In the address bar, you request some page. You request the page like home.html or something. Some page you are requesting. Now this page have to load. This is your application. In your application, you have a page called home.html. Now this page have to load. Usually what you do, you type the page address, some page name or some entire URL will be there. After typing the page address, you hit enter. When you hit enter, it is going to load this page in the browser. What you have to know is, generally when user hits enter, this page is loading means some event is working. Am I right? So you clicked something, some action is performed. You selected something, some action is performed, means some events are written. So you typed in the search box and hit enter and a page is loading. That means there is some event working, and that event is loading the page in the browser. Do you know that event name? Generally, every browser loads your page. Browser loads your page on an event called DOM content loaded. That is the event. On this event, it will load this page. It will load this page. Actually, what it will do is, it will create that page and it loads that page into your browser. Every browser will load the requested page by using an event called DOM content loaded. For example, you see, let's open browser. Here in this browser, right click, I go to inspect. Yeah, in the inspect, go to network category, keep the network open, and here you click on some request some address www.amazon.in. When I hit enter, you can see it is loading Amazon. It is loading all the Amazon, and see on which event it is loading. DOM content loaded. On this event, it is loading everything. Every HTML page in the world, in any browser in the world, it opens on an event called DOM content loaded. That means a page must be created. After that, the page is loaded. Now, remember, browser is loading the page. After that, browser is loading the page means it is creating the page. It is creating the page and rendering. After creating the page and rendering, if you want something else to happen while page is loading, then what you do in HTML, JavaScript, you learned another event called onload. Am I right? Onload. When you will use this, this is after page is created. When page is being rendered in the browser, this event is called onload. So whenever you request a page in browser, it will not load on onload. It will load on which event? DOM content loaded. In this event, the page is created and the page is first time rendered. And while rendering, one more event will load. What is that event? That event is onload. That means there will be two load events actually. DOM content loaded, after that onload. DOM content loaded is nothing but it is loading all HTML DOM elements. HTML DOM elements means heading, paragraph, images, buttons, everything. After loading them, page load will fire up. That page load will execute the functionality that you want. That means every page have two events to handle. One is DOM content loaded, another one is on. Actually, React components also same. Why I have to explain this to you? Because generally HTML, you have to know that. Why we have to know this is, first time when you request any component, that component will be created. After creating the component have a load phase. That load phase is called as, in React we call it as mount. Component have creation, after that mount. Later you will learn about component lifecycle. Component have a life cycle, you will later learn about that. Initially component have two phases. One creation phase, another one is mount. Mount means after creating, while loading the component, if you want any functionality, you can give. State can be assigned with a new values only after component is created. That means you can assign on which phase? Mount. Or you can assign on any another event. Another event means button click, drop down, change. You can use on any another event. Initially here you have to write a mount phase. And how do we write the mount phase? So here one important point is, so we will discuss here set state today, how the set state is going to work. State, what is that set state? State is configured while creating application, creating component. State is configured while creating component. State is configured while creating component. You cannot set a new value into state while creating component. You cannot set a new value into state while creating component. You can only initialize a value. You can only initialize a value. You cannot set a new value into state while creating the component. You can only initialize. So here every component have a mount phase. Every component have a mount phase. So this is nothing but load phase actually. Load phase, we call it as what? Mount. You can assign, you can initialize new values or set new values into state. While mounting component. And component mount phase is defined using use effect hook. We have to use this hook called use effect. Component mount phase is defined using use effect hook. We have to write the mount phase by using this use effect hook. Actually, use effect is written like this. Use effect. It uses a callback function and it have dependencies. The callback and dependencies. Callback and dependencies. Already we learned that here in modern JavaScript, we don't use function, function keyword every time in callback. We use shorthand techniques. These shorthand techniques, these are arrow techniques, JavaScript arrow technique. So actually, what is the actual general syntax for JavaScript people? Use effect. Callback function means you have to write a function like this. Instead of writing this function, we are using a shorthand technique here. That is the shorthand technique of writing function in JavaScript. That is arrow technique. Here, what is this dependency? This is very important for component. But we cannot use this now. Later we will use it. But you have to mention the dependency. See, what we are doing is we cannot set any state. We cannot set any state directly while creating. Already you saw there is an error here. So let's remove this. Okay. So when to set the state? To set the state, we need to write a mount phase. So we need one more hook here. Already we have a hook called use state. Another hook is what? Use effect. We have to import use effect from React. Already, if you write it, automatically it will import. Otherwise, you have to manually import it. Okay. Now we have to write use effect. Use effect uses a callback function and it have dependencies. Now here we need to tell what to do. That means at the time of mounting, what action to perform. I want to set product name. I will use set product name and I will put a new name here. And automatically you can see now the new name is assigned here. That means it is changing. You cannot set directly because anything you write outside, it indicates that you are doing while creating. After creating, while mounting means while loading. How do you write the load event? Generally in your JavaScript, you have onload. Here we have an event called as what? Use effect. And actually, what is this dependency? Dependency is nothing but usually how many times a component will mount. Component usually mounts only once. That means only once a component will mount. But actually, this component should mount again. So repeatedly it should mount. Then we have to tell the dependencies. We have to tell the dependencies. Tell the dependency is nothing but actually when it will mount again is usual what happens. Suppose you have some live cricket. When you are watching live cricket, suppose they will render score. That means what happens? They rendered a score. Score means a score comes here. And that score is some 200 per one like this. And suppose say 30 overs like this they have. Now what happened is whenever the over is changing, I want to update new score. I want to update new score. But what component will do? Once it renders this score, it will not change it, fix it. Because how many times a component can render? only one time. But we have to tell the component that not one time. Whenever the over changes, you render the latest one more time. That means now here, whenever the over changes, suppose over or ball or anything, that means when over changes to 31, then what we will do, we will get the latest score and render again. That means what is the dependency of rendering the score again? When score updates again. In this case, when score updates again, when over changes. That means what is the dependency? Over. That means here in the dependency we write overs. What does it means? Whenever over changes, then the component will mount again. When component mounts again, at that time what is the latest data? It will bring it and show. That means your component is bringing data from live. That means from some database, or it is bringing data from any APIs, and their data is regularly changing, not standard like weather or like stock market. Some information you are showing which is not a constant information, which is some live information. Regularly that information changes. In that case, we have to tell the dependency. Dependency indicates that when the component should mount again. As of now, we don't need this. Later, you will use it. Then you will clearly understand the situation also. But remember, what is this square brace indicates? What is that square brace indicates? Square brace indicates that array. Array means there can be more than one dependency. When over changed update, when ball changed update, or when a person scores a run update, that means to remount, there may be so many conditions. Multiple dependencies may be there. That is why it is defined as what? Array. Remember, even there are no dependencies, you have to mention about dependencies. Empty you have to write. Even there is no necessity of rendering again. You have to tell about dependency. That dependency you need to leave it as what? Empty. So it is mandatory that every time you have to mention the dependency. When we can use it in later situation, you will understand. Later situation you will understand, because for that we need some more examples. As of now, what you understood by use effect. Use effect is a mount phase of component. At the component creation phase, you cannot initialize new values. You cannot set new values. If you want to set new values, you have to define a loading phase. That loading phase is called as what? Mount. And how do we write the mount phase? By using use effect. Use effect we have to do. And what is the meaning of these dependencies? Actually, dependency dependencies specify when to load the component again. Dependencies specify when to load the component again. Actually, it is just like, when you learnt any OOP concept, even in your JavaScript also you will learn OOP concepts. Your classes have a constructor. How many times a constructor executes? Only once. Am I right? For every object, a constructor executes only once. Similarly, for every component, mount will happen only once. It is just like a constructor, but not constructor. It is a different scenario, right? I'm just explaining the same thing. So, but what is advantage? It renders only once, but we can make it render many times. Constructor, we cannot do that. Constructor will execute only once. But here also it is same like constructor, but it can execute multiple times. Whenever you want, you can tell that, okay, now update one more time, render one more time. That is what you do by using what? Dependencies. Later you will learn and use these dependencies. Even there are no dependencies, we have to mention about dependencies. We cannot remove this and write the use effect. So even there are no dependencies, you have to mention the dependencies, leave it empty. It is mandatory to do that. So you can set a new value by using this technique, by using the technique new value. This is very important. Whenever you configure, suppose another one, suppose price, set price. And initially use state. So price I given 0, it is numeric. And in the next line, we will print here something like price. And how do we get it? Price. And price is actually initialized to 0. It is initialized to 0 here. We want to set a new value. In use effect, we have to use the set price and set a new value into it. And you can see that it is going to set the new value. So always the setter must be inside this. Anytime you kept it outside anywhere you have defined it, you try to set the values outside, then it is invalid. You have to make sure that the set is defined inside the use effect. That is important, right? So this is the concept of how we can set values. So we are going to set new values into that state by using setter, but setter cannot be defined while creating component. You need a new phase. What is that phase? Mount. So component mount phase is defined by using use effect. So I will give one example here. Data binding.jsx. Now let's copy this and put it here. Okay. So this is binding the data and displaying the data. Now we will see some more real world concept here. Actually, you already learned in JavaScript based concepts and technology. Data we bring from backend databases, data we bring from various sources and use the data. So how to access some real-time data and use the data? We will see one example for that. How do we manage? How do we interact with that? So for that, we are going to see some important point here. Already I told you these dependencies we will discuss later, right? What is dependency? How these dependencies affect? Because as of now, our component is not ready to use dependency. That depends on different situations. You will learn later how do we handle them. So this is one basic phase. How do we create state? How do we initialize new values into the state? Okay. Now let's see how to handle some data real-time data. Actually, in your JavaScript, what you learned is to keep the data offline and to maintain the data offline and to use across pages. That means you have some information and you want that information to use across different pages. Then how you handle the data? Usually what we do, we maintain data in the format of JSON. You learned JSON, right? You learned how to create JSON files in JavaScript, how to bring the data from the JSON files and use them. So in real world, all the data communication happens through the concept of what? APIs. And API provide the data in the format of JSON. Already in JavaScript, you learned JSON, how to create and do. In React, we will see how do we do that. So now in real world, actually, this all data comes from a different concept. Means how it actually works. I will give a simple overview but usually you will learn all this in your backend technologies, Java, .NET, Node.js, backend technologies you will learn. But just I will give an overview. So we will see how to manage data coming from APIs, working with APIs. So we will see how do we work with the APIs. So working with APIs. How do we handle and work with APIs? You already learned in your JavaScript, you learned Ajax now. JavaScript Ajax, how to communicate with APIs, get the data, how to present, how to interact. The same thing, I will give an overview about this because these are general concepts. First, I will give a simple overview, then we will use that and interact with that. First, actually, you need to understand one concept called what is this API? To understand API, first you should know what is distributed computing. This is the first basic thing you need to understand. What is distributed computing? You need to know about this concept. Because I hope all you people have learned this basics of distributed architecture in your JavaScript, because it's a very basic thing in JavaScript. And in the modern applications, this is important. So our React in real-time projects, you are a Java developer, .NET developer, Node full stack developer, your life will be entirely in distributed computing only. Majority. You have to work with these type of applications. Your projects will be same. So you have to work with all distributed computing. Actually, what is distributed computing? How we do this? We will see in React also now. What is concept of distributed computing is distributed computing allows communication between two applications running on two different machines. Distributed computing allows communication between two applications running on two different machines. Not only that, it also allows communication between two different objects, of two different applications running in the same process, running in different process of same application. This is a very major thing in software development, actually, distributed computing. So distributed computing allows communication between two applications running on two different machines. Different machines. So it also allows communication between two different objects of two different applications running in different process of same application, same machine actually, same machine. That is distributed computing. And this is what software development is all about in your technologies. You are any technology developer in the world, Your work job as a developer in software companies is this. You are Java, you are .NET, you are Python, your Node.js, your projects will be on this concept only. So distributed computing, actually, what is this? See, distributed computing allows communication between two applications running on two different machines. For example, see, suppose we have one point here. Suppose we are having, this is a client and this is a server. We have a server machine and we have a client machine. Client is the user. Suppose in the server we have Netflix. So that is a Netflix app on server. They designed a Netflix app. I need to watch this Netflix app on my client device. Then how I can watch is, I can watch in a browser. In a browser, I can open Netflix and I can watch. Or instead of browser, in my device also, I can have a Netflix app. In my device also, I can have a Netflix app. In a PC or a mobile or a tab, I can watch in a browser. But instead of watching in browser, I can watch in an app also. What is advantage of using an app in my device? Generally, you are watching YouTube. You can watch YouTube in browser, or you can watch YouTube in a YouTube app. What is the advantage of watching in a YouTube app? You know, in YouTube app, it allows several data offline. You know, it will provide several data offline. Even when you are not connected with internet, you can watch so many things. You know, you can download the videos, you can watch later without internet connection. Huh? Is it possible when you are doing in a browser? Not possible. So we are using another app in our device. Now this client app is communicating with server app. Server app is transporting the data to client app is using the data. That means two different applications running on two different machines are sharing information. And this is called as distributed computing. That means if I ask you in your mobile, what are the mobile apps you are having? In your mobile, what are the mobile apps you are having? Suppose you say Netflix or Amazon, Flipkart or Zomato, Swiggy. They are not mobile apps. They are not mobile apps. They are all officially distributed applications. Distributed applications. They are not mobile apps. Mobile apps means what? Calculator, calendar, phone gallery, phone book. Am I right? These are mobile apps. That means if any application is unable to provide you data without internet connection, then it is mobile app. It needs internet connection. That means it's not a mobile app. Actually, they are all technically what kind of applications? Distributed. They're all distributed application. Amazon, Flipkart, Zomato, Swiggy, WhatsApp, all these are distributed apps. So distributed technology means two applications running on two different machines, they can share information. This concept is called distributed computing. Distributed computing. Not only that, another point is that, for example, this is one concept. Distributed means another option is there. Distributed means, for example, you have a computer, you have a mobile or a computer or any device. Observe, actually, In your mobile, you opened some Make My Trip. You opened some Make My Trip. In Make My Trip, you searched for some flights from Hyderabad to Delhi, something you search. After that, you close Make My Trip. You close Make My Trip and you open YouTube or Facebook. Suddenly, you will find advertisements for Make My Trip in YouTube. Am I right? That means what I have done in Make My Trip, how YouTube knows, how Facebook knows. That means the mobile applications that you are using, they are sharing data between them. That is what not good in privacy. That's the reason you see Apple phones, what they do, they will ask that when you install any app, they will ask, do you want this app to share data with other apps? You can simply say no. Then other apps don't know what you are doing in another app. But in Android, it's not like that. In Android, you install an app, you are using something in that, other apps may know it. That means, do you know, you will be very much surprised, but you remember this. Do you know all your apps, you need to disable microphone concept. I hope you might have observed, because these days it is very much happening. You just sit with some friend, you talk about certain topic, right? Like you talk about, we will go to Goa, we will explore Goa, we will plan Goa trip. Like that, you talk for 1 hour, 2 hours with your friend and related to Goa. And now go home, open your mobile on YouTube, you will see several videos related to Goa will be suggesting you. You will be surprised, like, I never browsed it. I never browsed it. Then how come these are coming? Is it able to read my mind also? Is YouTube able to read my mind also? These days, artificial intelligence is there. Are they reading our minds also? That means you discussed something with your family related to some concept. Suddenly those kind of videos will be giving suggestion in YouTube. You will feel that. And do you know why? Because these days all your mobiles are recording and reading whatever enabled with mic. Even you switch off, not switch off, even you put the standby mode of your mobile, put in a pocket, your mic is on. That's why now, if your mic is on, you can say, you see, you have Siri, Alexa, all these. Even you are switch off, you say, hey Siri, it will open now. That means it is still listening. Your mobile is listening to you. Your mobile is listening to you. Even you are in standby mode also, your mobile is listening to you. And several apps in mobile are listening to you. And some apps are using high level artificial intelligence. They can even suggest you related to what they are listening. These days, this is becoming a big issue also. This is happening. This is reality, right? That means when you install app, in app permissions, you don't allow mic until or unless you need it. Then it is little secured. This is reality. So this is one very popular reality that many people not know, right? So technically, what is the point? And two applications in one device are sharing information between them. They are sharing information between them. You know, not only that, for example, you know, suppose you send, your bank sends an OTP, am I right? Your bank sends an OTP, your bank app sends an OTP. OTP comes to SMS, na? And bank app can read that SMS, automatically fill the OTP. Am I right? How? That is not good. How you are allowing some app to read your OTPs? That's not good. You may be thinking that it is a good facility without typing OTP automatically filled. But how you are allowing that? That is dangerous. That means two applications are able to communicate in an device. This computing architecture is called as what? Distributed. Distributed computing architecture. In distributed computing architecture, actually, different technologies use different distributed computing architectures. What are the various distributed computing technologies? What are the various distributed computing technologies? There are so many. We have CORBA. CORBA is actually Common Object Request Broken Architecture. CORBA is used in almost 14 languages. More than 14 languages use this CORBA, Common Object Request Broken Architecture, including C++, Java like technologies, they use this CORBA. This CORBA allows distributed infrastructure. It provides you to build distributed apps. Java, .NET, PHP, Python, more than 14 languages know this CORBA. Sometimes you have DCOM, Distribute Component Object Model. This is used by a language called Visual Basic. Visual Basic uses this DCOM. We have RMI, Remote Method Invocation. Actually, it is used by J2EE. EJB, Enterprise Java Beans. Java Beans. It is used by Java technology. And web service. Service is technologies. All technologies know web service. Remoting. It is used by .NET. These are all different distributed computing technologies. Java people learn a distributed computing architecture with EJB, Enterprise Java Beans. .NET people learn by using remoting. And PHP, Python, .NET, Java, everybody use this web service. Web service is common for all technologies. All technologies use distributed architecture. Suppose in Java, you have to build a distributed app. You need these technologies, either web service or EJB. In .NET, you need to build a distributed app. Then you need a technology called remoting. In PHP, Python, or Node.js, you want to build an app, distributed application like Netflix. Remember, Netflix and Amazon, Flipkart, these are not just web applications. They have both. They have web applications, they have distributed. And to build distributed applications, you need this. Suppose in Java, .NET, you want to build one app. That app have to communicate with other apps in the device. Then you need these technologies. Without that, you can't do. These are all distributed technologies used by different languages. So distributed computing technologies, these are. Usually you will not learn at that level of Java or .NET regularly. But at experience level, people have to know them. Because these days, majority all applications are what? Distributed. You are learning Java or .NET or Python or any technology, they will not teach you distributed because that's out of your range and level at this moment. But they will tell you one few concepts about them. But it is very important for modern developers to learn because all modern applications are What kind of applications? Distributed applications, right? So here you see, there are so many distributed computing technologies. These are all distributed. Now, in this, which one is known to every technology is majority is what? Web service. Actually, web service was very popular earlier, but from past few years, this is taken over, means it is replaced, mostly we can say replaced with a concept called API. Web service is older. Now the modern generation is using replacement. The replacement of web service is what? APIs. So the replacement of web service is API. So here one important note, the most popular distributed computing technology used across all languages is web service. However, it have issues for modern web. However, it have issues with modern web. Hence, the alternative is API. Hence, the alternative is API. What are the issues? I will tell you some points, but not required for you. You will learn in your technologies, Java and all backend technologies, you will learn them. So what are the major issues we were facing with web services? Web service will run on only HTTP. It cannot run on other protocols. Only one protocol it supports. What is that protocol? HTTP. But the modern web is using so many protocols. HTTP, HTTPS, SMTP, MSMQ, different types of protocols. And that is a problem. Another problem is it can run on only web servers. It can run on only web servers. It cannot run on local servers. If you have any local servers, internet, you know difference, na? Intranet means a private network, and in that we need some application communication. Web service cannot do. Web service can run only on internet, only on web. But in all networks, we need a communication between applications. Web service cannot do that. That is the reason now we have a replacement for web service, and that is what? API. Actually, even today, if you search for Java, .NET, PHP, Python developers in Naukri sites, when they ask, we want 2 years, 4 years experience people, in every requirement, they will mention that we want people with knowledge of web service. Experienced software developer means he is not a developer who don't know web service in any technology. And companies cannot entertain such people because their entire work is with web service. Now this web service is replaced with what? APIs. API. So what is the concept of API? Let's see. So what is API? And what is the main point about this API? API is application programming interface. Application programming interface. Application programming interface. And what is the specialty about is it handles communication between applications in distributed architecture. In distributed architecture. Now, what is the specialty is it can run on any protocol. It can run on any server. So it uses XML and JSON communication. These are all important points about API. So the modern technologies are not using web services very much. They are majority using what? APIs. They are majority using APIs. So now what is the concept of API? How this API works? I will show you a simple concept. Means in reality, in your apps, how it works actually. For example, you may belong to any technology. Generally, you usually have database. Database is present in a server. To communicate with the database, we build one application. Usually this application is Java or .NET or PHP or Python or Node.js. Like this, we use different technologies. Now this application communicates with the database, gets the data from the database. Database can be any database like Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, anything, SQL Server, anything. Now what happens is this data comes and this data need to be provided to a mobile. On a mobile, it need to be on a PC or laptop like device. On a PC or laptop like a device. It should be on a tab like device. And it should be on even a smart watch like device. That means like some smart watch. That is some smart watch like device. Now how the data can reach everywhere? And remember, they may be using different operating system. Mobile may be using Android or it may be using iOS. PC may be using Windows or Linux. Windows or Linux or Unix or Mac, anything. Tab also similar. Watch also may be using Wear OS. Am I like? Wear OS na? Wear OS is Google na? Google OS. Your smartwatches uses Wear OS, which is Google OS. And Apple OS also is there for watches. Now the point is how the data can be sent to everybody. The data must be in such a way every platform should understand, every device should understand. Then what your technologies will do? Your technologies implement the concept of what? API. And what this API will do? It will convert the data into XML or what? JSON. So that any device, any operating system can understand your data. It reaches everywhere. That is the concept of API. You are using Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Node.js, any technology in the backend, you have to know about APIs. And React will not teach you APIs. React will teach you how to use them. Because this is the job done. This entire job is done. In which location? This entire job is done in the backend. Understood? Your backend technologies will teach you up to this. What Angular, React, Vue, and JavaScript will teach you is how to bring this data and use, how to present it on the screen. So React, Angular, Vue, JavaScript will not teach you API. They will teach you how to consume the APIs. Creating API is done by backend technologies. Your Java have to teach you your APIs. .NET have to teach you APIs. Node.js have to teach you APIs. So here we are not learning how to design API. Here we are learning how to use the APIs. But later I will show you a full stack application and we will design our own APIs also. Later I will show that. With a MERN stack example, I will show you, you can even practice. But that is not my job to teach you backend, right? Here, my job is not teaching you how to create APIs. My job is to teach you how to use the APIs. That is what your backend technologies have to teach you, how to design these APIs. So what is the concept of API? I hope you understood now. You are watching some weather report. Weather report is coming from database, and your technology is pulling the database and it is trying to show you everywhere. That means on a smartwatch, I can see the weather. On a mobile, I can see the weather. On a tab, I can see the weather. On my laptop, I can see the weather. How data can reach everywhere? It is possible only when it is in the format of XML and JSON. Actually, now XML is also almost gone. Now everywhere people are using only what? JSON. Majority everything we use JSON. So we will see how to handle this data. How to handle the data in the format of JSON. Handle. In JavaScript already people learn this. How to handle JSON data in JavaScript they learn. I will show here in React what are the various techniques we can follow, right? Let's see. So what we are doing now is this concept understood now, right? So it is a very big concept, and actually you will learn in the backend technologies. I just given an overview about this. Let's say I just given an overview to this. I will give you the overview basic. Actually, this is different computing technologies. These are different computing technologies. These are different computing technologies. In software development, you will come across with all this. We have distributed computing, cluster computing, cloud computing, distributed computing, parallel computing, grid computing. You may not know about it, but as a developer in a software industry, your life will be in any of these, in any one of these. So cloud computing, parallel computing, grid computing, distributed computing, developer's job is this. And usually, you know already what is cloud computing. Cloud computing is a service to provide infrastructure as service, software as service, platform as service. So cloud is not Google Drive. Cloud means saving files in Google Drive, accessing from Google Drive. That is not cloud. Cloud means providing platform as service, infrastructure as service, and software as service. Cloud is a very big thing, right? Cloud technologies. So distributed computing you just learned. This is actually distributed architecture. This is the distributed computing. You don't know, you don't need all this. Yeah. This is distributed computing. Allows communication between two applications running on two different machines. Allows communication between two different objects running on same machine. That is what we call as distributed computing. And these are all distributed computing technologies. CORBA, DCOM, RMI, EJB, web service, remoting. CORBA is used in almost 14 languages, including C++, Java. And this belongs to OMG group, Object Management Group. And we have DCOM. It is used in Visual Basic, Microsoft. We have RMI. It is used in J2EE. We have EJB, which is used in Java. And we have web service, which is used everywhere. All technologies use one distributed architecture called web service. And it is very popular in software technologies. You search as a Java developer, .NET developer for jobs with experience. Every job requirement asks you web service. Compulsory. Mandatory, yet. So now this web service is replaced with what? API. Remoting is this. Remoting is related to .NET. These are all distributed technologies. Actually, these are so many others are there. others not required for you as of now. Just a overview of distributed structure I will show you. Means what is the APIs we will see here. What is the API concept also I will show here. So you see, actually this is the concept of API. This is the concept of API. That is the basic overview of API. So what is the API? You have database and you have the business logic. Business logic you will write in your Java, Node.js, .NET, PHP, Python and all. What is the target? Providing to everyone. And it is not a new concept. It is a very old concept. The world first API is eBay. You know eBay? eBay is a very popular shopping site. It is the world's first API. After that, other becomes API. Even today, do you know Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm, PhonePe, inside them, whatever shopping you do, they are supported by eBay only, even today. They follow the architecture of eBay. eBay is the world's first API. These are all APIs. These are all APIs. Different APIs generation is there. That is API generation. First API started in 2000. After that, so many APIs came. I stopped in 2010 because in 2010, I prepared this presentation. At that time, what was APIs? We were teaching APIs to people like .NET and all at that time. And after that, I stopped teaching .NET and I shifted to React and UI front end, Angular JS and all this. That's the reason I personally stopped here. But after that, so much generation happened. That means so many APIs are there, right? So this is not a new thing, but now it is very much trending. Everywhere people are using this, right? This is the concept here. So its main concept is, earlier we used to use this mechanism. Database, API services, they can provide data to any application. In which format they can do? So two formats, XML and JSON. XML and JSON. Why those two are special? Because they are lightweight, they can be used offline, they can easily transport via network, they are not infected with virus, they cannot be blocked by firewalls. If anybody asked you in interview like, why XML, why JSON, why not other languages, why your data is maintained in only those two? That is because of these all advantages. What is the advantage of data in XML and JSON? They are lightweight, they are faster, they can flow through the firewalls, they cannot be infected with virus, they are cross-platform, they can run on any device. Even a device with low memory also can use it. Less bandwidth also can use it. That is the main concept of API. Now, how you design the data, how you communicate with the data, this is important. So let's see here. Generally in JavaScript, what is the point? Same you have to implement here also. I will show that. Let's go to our project. Generally in JavaScript, you maintain one JSON file, get the data from JSON. To access the data from JSON in JavaScript, what methods you learned? In JavaScript, AJAX methods you learned. What AJAX methods you learned in JavaScript? Every browser uses an AJAX method, XML, HTTP request. And another method is what? Fetch. By using these, we communicate with APIs in JavaScript usually. Now in React, what we can do? React can use the JavaScript methods, or React have its own techniques also. We will see that, how to handle them. So let's see how we can do this. So I will remove this data. Okay. We are going to remove this, all this information. Okay. Let's go to the public folder. In the public folder, we are going to save one file, create a new file, products.json. We are creating a new file, products JSON. JavaScript file, JSON file will have the extension .json. Now let's create some data here. Roughly we are creating some data. I am creating an array. In that array we have an object. You already learned how to design JSON. JSON have a key and value, and key must be always a string. And I give a name, some name. And we have price and some price. We are having some data like this. Just I will give simple. Let's put another object. Later we will use complex data. Mobile and price. Okay. Only two details are there. Now what is the point is, I want to access this data and show in the UI. In your JavaScript, how you do? By using AJAX methods, you can get the data from JSON and you can use the data. So in React, how do we do? Let's do. Let's go to the data binding. Here, we are writing one function. So first we need to bring the products and see products is expecting what type of data is coming from here? Array. So we will create constant products, set products, and use state, and it is an array. We are expecting an array. Now we will write one function. Directly you can write in this mount, or I will write one function called load data. Load data is the function. What this function have to do? It should communicate with the data, get the data, and load all the products data here. In JavaScript, how you do that? How you bring the data from a JSON file? In JavaScript, what we do is we create an XML HTTP object, new XML HTTP request object. This is JavaScript actually. And through HTTP request object, we will use an open method and we will access the data from which location? Products. Products dot what? JSON. And asynchronous, that means here we have to write the method. Method is get. The method is get. On get method, we have to bring the data from here. And asynchronous, we need to set it to what? True. After that, HTTP dot send. It will send the request. This is all JavaScript. In JavaScript, AJAX request is made by using an object called what? XML HTTP. Through XML HTTP get method, we are fetching the data coming from this file. Asynchronous true and send. And we know already in JavaScript, you learned all this process. Huh? So here we have to use all HTTP dot, what is it? On ready state change uses a function. And here we need to define if HTTP dot ready state is equal to 4. You know now 4 means it is ready. Huh? If it is ready, what we have to do? So we need to get the data and load here. Where to load the data? Everything in the products. So set products. Into the set products, what we have to do? HTTP dot what? Response text. Actually, response text is a string form. We will convert that into JSON. How do we convert? JSON. JSON dot what? Parse. We have to convert the data coming in the format of JSON. This is how we bring the data and we store the data. This is JavaScript HTTP request method. In JavaScript, you will learn how to communicate with JSON by using this technique. I am not using any React here, just JavaScript AJAX method I am using. This is how in JavaScript we make an AJAX call. And we get all the data here. And when to load the data? When the component is mounted, na? That means on component mount, we will call the function. Which function? Load data. That means this function will not execute until or unless component is mounted. So you return it, but it will execute when component mounts. Am I right? That means when component mounts, this function will execute and all the data is stored in which location? Products. All the data is stored in products. Now we need to present the data here. I will put a heading. What is it? Products. We will create a table. We learned how to create a table. Class table, table hover, and here we have T-head, TR, TH. One is name, another one is what? Price. Now in the table body, we have T body. Here we need to generate a row for every record. Then how to access products dot what? Map. Because products is an array, we need to map. We need to read everything. 1 second. No. So products dot map, we are reading every product. For every product, we are generating a row. As we discussed, row needs a key. Na? Yes. And in the row, we need one cell. Here I need to display product dot what? Name. Another cell. Here I need to display, what is it? Product dot what? Price. That means it needs to bring the data and display the data from JSON. This is coming from JSON file. That means we are using a simple JavaScript XML HTTP. This is JavaScript AJAX. So in JavaScript, we communicate with any JSON file by using which method? XML HTTP. But communicating using XML HTTP is a lengthy process. There are other shortcuts also we will see. But we have to learn all techniques. Now, whenever I update any data here, I'm adding one more record into this. Name, it is something like watch. And we have price. And the price is something like this. Then you can see the data is updated here. Actually, in reality, this data comes from where? Backend database. That we will see later. But first you need to understand how to maintain data in a JSON file, how to connect the data, access and use it. This is the pure technique of JavaScript. It is pure JavaScript technique. Here you haven't learnt any React. What you just learnt is in React, one state is created. In that state, we are storing the data. In JavaScript, AJAX request is made by using this technique. Which one? It is made by using XML HTTP. But XML HTTP is a lengthy one. So many you have to write. There is another technique you learned in JavaScript. What is the shortcut technique? Fetch. But important is the fetch also have to use same. Every technology in the world which is using AJAX, it should use only one object. What is that object? XML HTTP. This object. But directly we don't use the object, we use alternative methods. But directly if you have to use the object, this is the process we have to follow. Right? If you all people learned how to use AJAX in JavaScript, this is a same routine concept. This is nothing new. If you are not aware of JavaScript AJAX, you don't properly learn JavaScript AJAX, then I have to give a AJAX JavaScript related syntax overview. Then we can implement this in real-time data. As of now, what is the example you have to do? First, remember, always make sure that your JSON file is in public. Don't keep in any another folder. If it is in any another folder, it will not allow to access. Always JSON must be in which folder? Public here. So what you have to do? So add a new file into public folder. And what is the file name? Products dot what? JSON. This is the file. This code I will share with you. Our admin will create a classroom code today and he will share the classroom code with you. For online people through email, they will share, and for offline people, we will give a QR. You can scan that and join into the class code so that all the classroom notes will be uploaded there, right? Today's notes we will upload in the same drive link, right? From tomorrow, it will be on Google Classroom, or we will share that, okay? And the next one is, what is it? Data binding dot what? JSX. This is data binding dot JSX. I will copy this. This is the complete note. Is it clear? Right? So we are learning how to communicate with the APIs. And as of now, temporarily, we kept the data in JSON. In the next level, we will learn real-time data. That means we will learn real APIs. How to use the real APIs, bring the data and display and create the interactions, we will see that, right? But remember, if you people are not aware of JavaScript AJAX properly, then tomorrow I will give a complete idea of JavaScript AJAX first. Because if you don't know this properly, you can't understand anything in React. So I hope everybody who learned JavaScript, they know AJAX. And if you are not aware of that, basically about AJAX, what is it, how it works, I will give an overview. Then we can use this in our APIs, how to handle that. That we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we will do that, right? In tomorrow's session, for the people who are not aware of JavaScript AJAX, first I will give an overview of AJAX, then we will use examples with that AJAX here, okay? Tomorrow we'll continue then. Don't miss tomorrow's session, because this is what as a developer you have to do in every front-end technologies. Tomorrow we'll continue, okay? Right. As I told you, Google link we will share tomorrow, okay? Right. Yeah, online people, you have any doubts, anything at the end of the session, or this weekend we will have a doubt session. We will clarify all of that in the doubt session. Okay, right.